People are captivated by stories of doomsday cults, their deranged leaders, and the often deadly consequences. So today, Daily Mail is counting down some of the nation's most terrifying cults in recent history. Here to help us is crimeonline.com's Nancy Grace. So Nancy, let's start with number 5 on the list. The Manson family carried out the gruesome murders of 7 people in a Los Angeles killing spree back in 1969 on the orders of their infamous leader, Charles Manson. To you, what was at the heart of this cult?
Well, you know, it's funny that you would ask that one first, Jesse, because I just recently had a chance to speak at length with a then young teen girl who survived living with Charles Manson. And what she detailed to me, it gave me chills. It made my blood boil because this teen girl's parents had encouraged her to be independent. She was like 14 years old. They had done drugs in front of the girl. The girl had gotten involved in drugs. She was just a little girl. And Manson takes her under his wing. He sexually molests her, provides her with drugs. Her life there was horrible, but all of his disciples believed that he was a prophet of sorts. They believed everything he said.
Okay, Nancy, we're going to move on now to number 4. The Rajneesh movement was led by a guru from India who promised over 1,000 disciples a utopian existence in a small town in Oregon. But when the original residents protested, they launched the largest bioterror attack in U.S. history. What can you tell us about that attack?
That's right. He came from India and he had this higher enlightenment, which included group sex and naked meditation. I'll let you think on that for a moment, Jesse. But then he leaves there and comes to Antelope, all right, and starts his commune. His goal was to take over the city council and run the local government. And it went so far, Jesse, as him busing in homeless people and vagrants from other big cities to register and vote so that he and his followers could take over the local government. Not only that, reports which have been proven that he inflicted salmonella through 10 restaurant salad bars, making about 700 people sick in his effort to keep them from voting.
Okay, Nancy, we're going to move on now to number 3. When Heaven's Gate cult leader Marshall Applewhite convinced his followers that a spacecraft would carry them to a higher level, 39 members, including Applewhite, consumed applesauce laced with barbiturates and tied plastic bags over their heads. Before the chilling mass suicide, Applewhite released haunting videos about the cult's plans to exit the Earth. Watch this.
Planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us.
It's hard to wrap your head around all this, Nancy, but what do you find most disturbing about the Heaven's Gate cult?
Well, most disturbing to me is how 39 victims, some of them fairly well educated, are mass brainwashed, living together in a communal setting, mass brainwashed, that they are somehow going to hitch a ride with a spacecraft full of aliens and be taken to a higher level. That's the scenario. It was kind of a mixture of biblical teaching and sci-fi.
Yeah, terrible to think there were 39 victims, but there were also survivors, Nancy. What do we know about this cult today?
Well, good question, because the webpage for the cult is still up and functioning. So somebody within that cult must be still handling the website, managing the website, and apparently they are hoping that they're going to reconnect with the 39 dead and their follower when they return to Earth from their space travels.
Wow, well, hopefully they're not able to recruit anybody moving forward. We're going to move on now to number 2 on the countdown. David Koresh, the infamous leader of a religious sect known as the Branch Davidians, was known to take wives as young as 12. And when government officials raided his compound in 1993, a 51-day standoff ended in the deaths of 76 men, women, and children. Nancy, what can you tell us about Koresh's followers and their horrific ending?
Well, the whole thing with Koresh is that it started out as it was billed as a utopia where people could have freedom of religion, and it turned into anything but that. He preyed mostly on women and children. He practiced polygamy, and when you practice polygamy with adult women, that in itself is a crime. But when you practice polygamy on 12-year-old girls, not just one but many, that's called felony child molestation and statutory rape, which was rampant there with the Branch Davidians. The government discovered that he was stockpiling not only ammunition but weapons. I mean, a huge arsenal. And when they tried to confront him about that, it turned into a siege, and ultimately within the Branch Davidians, they set themselves on fire. Allegedly.
Okay, Nancy, that now brings us to number one on our countdown, the People's Temple. Over 900 people, including 276 children, ingested cyanide and died agonizing deaths on the order of their deranged leader, Jim Jones. Nancy, what can you tell us about the infamous Jonestown Massacre?
Now it's a colloquialism to say, hey, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Well, that's where it came from the Jim Jones utopia in Guyana. Now, he had been here in the U.S. He had moved from one place to the next, and finally, when authorities were onto him in California, they took off for Guyana, down in South America. There, everything changed. His followers were working around the clock. It was very Gestapo-esque. They were asked to inform on the other. It was a horrible climate for them to live in. And what it boiled down to is him, again, a megalomaniac, high on prescription pills, sleeping with children and teen girls and other men's wives. Everyone was too afraid to do anything about it. In the end, many people willingly drank poison that was in Kool-Aid. Others tried to protest, and they were told they would be shot dead if they didn't drink it. They had no choice.
Yeah, it's unfathomable, and it seems like it's even beyond Hollywood, a Hollywood movie script. Unbelievable to think someone could organize something like that. Certainly at Daily Mail, we'll continue to follow cult activity. Nancy, as always, thank you for helping us understand these disturbing cases.